Another Dooley Noted Podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, welcome into Another Dooley Noted Podcast, as always presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. So great to be back. It's just fun to be back. We got some great downtime. I know Tammy needed it. I needed it. We were able to spend time with family, so we didn't do a show last week, but we appreciate everybody understanding that. But we are back now, and we are ready to go. We got some great shows lined up. In fact, today, Dari Nowkah is going to join us from the SEC Network. You love his work, and I love his work. We'll do a yes, no, way, or maybe with him, sponsored by Big Mills Cheesesteaks. Jenny Rowland, the Florida gymnastics coach, will join us on Monday. Coach Spurrier will be at the ReliQuest Bowl, which is where his son is coaching, so he's down there for the whole weekend. But Coach Spurrier will then join us the following Friday, and then the following Friday after that, Paul Feinbaum. So we got it all lined up. We're ready to have a great January. We all need a little break from everything, not only because it was kind of a hard season for everybody. Okay, let's get to a guy who it wasn't hard for, the hand law starting lineup, and we appreciate him so much. All of our great sponsors, Chris Hand, I know we've had some great conversations about Florida football. Let us start with the starting lineup. Is presented, as always, by Hand Law, a Florida law firm which helps clients with government. You can learn more about Hand Law by visiting its website at www.hand.law. The firm is available for consultation in Jacksonville. Let's get to the Hand Law starting lineup. Number one, we keep getting these questions. I mean, a lot has happened since we were last on the air. Some more players have left Florida. It's clearly there is a massive purging going on here, and it's some of it is guys who didn't want to play for Napier. Some of it are guys who Napier didn't want to play for him, and some of it are guys who just think more of themselves than they're worth. But I will say this: do not lump every one of these guys into the same boat where you say, well, if this guy left, something was wrong with him, or he was selfish, he didn't love the Gators. This is the world we live in, man. I know it's not a comfortable world. It may drive me out of football eventually, but it's the world we live in. So nobody is a bad person just because they left the University of Florida. And I know a lot of Gator fans feel that way because they go top 5 university. I get all that stuff. But I don't think that's, there was a quote from Chris McClellan, and I can't remember what it was. It was a fan website podcast, much like this one. And he was talking about how players. I was trying to look and see if I knew who it was. I think it was Gators Online or something like that. But anyway, he said that a lot of the players that were there before didn't like discipline, and they didn't want to be told what to do, and they didn't want it. And maybe that's why they lost 2 offensive linemen. Maybe it's not why they lost 2 offensive linemen. Maybe it has nothing to do with it. But the bottom line is, we'll see what happens here. But look, we're seeing a purge, and I was looking it up, and I'm going to do something on this, I think, for Gators Wire on the transitions, the 12 most frequent transitions and what happened and where it went right, where it went wrong. This one is a massive one. It is massive as to what Florida is doing, and we all know that. Number 2, I thought about this a lot this weekend when I was watching all these bowl games, and it was every time there'd be a bowl game, and I go, well, man, this is a great game. Why? And I go, well, Florida got killed in the bowl game, and I go, well, there's a reason Florida got killed in the bowl game. They had a lot of opt-outs, and then they had it was 6-6 coming off 2 losses against 9-3, which is a tough matchup. I mean, that's not a matchup you probably would think you would have going into a bowl season. You'd watch these games constantly, 6-6 versus 6-6. 7-4 versus, or 7-5 versus 8-4, games like that. And so you'd watch that and you go, well, man, Florida really, that's one more example of Florida having a rough schedule. And then I started thinking, look, I'm not using it as an excuse or anything. They did what they did. They played like they played. And then I watched the game last night, Thursday night, between FSU and Oklahoma. And Oklahoma had lost both their tackles and one other starter, and was coming off a 6-6 season playing a 9-3 team. And they played them right down to the wire. Like most of America, we were all rooting for Oklahoma. But the bottom line is you can still play hard. You can still play at a better level. You can coach better. It's not impossible. But I do think it was a bad break for them. And I do, in a lot of ways, I think it was the schedule itself was good. I think I talked about this last week. The schedule itself was good for Billy Napier because he got to evaluate guys in the worst of situations. In other words, you don't maybe have the talent the other team. How do you step up? If you do have similar talent, how do you step up? If you have way better talent, how do you react? He got to experience it all. That's the way I look at it anyway. Number 3, basketball. We're not a basketball school right now, said nobody. But they're not a basketball school. They're not a football school. It's obviously a gymnastics school. We'll talk to Jenny Rowland about that a little bit. I think it's the most dominant sport on the. Oh wait, there's track where you can win 3 national championships in 1 year. It's the best. Anyway, they lose the SEC opener. Played really well defensively, terrible offensively. We're sitting here and we can't believe it. 5 for 41 in the last 2 games. 5 for 41. I don't have to figure out the percentage. 5 for 41. And they lost both games, close games. Just make a couple of shots. You've got 2 big wins, one on a neutral site, obviously one on the road against a top 20 team. Just make a couple shots. But it's like when a Florida player lets go a 3-point shot, you go, that's not going in. And sometimes they bang off the backboard without hitting the rim. I don't know what the answer is there. I do know one answer is don't take 41 threes in 2 games if you're only going to make 5. I don't know where it's going there with basketball. It's 7-6. Golden was very upbeat after the game. I listened to the on WRUF. I listened to that, and he was talking about how he felt like they've really taken the strides necessary, and the program is developing. And of course, most people in the world today don't care about the program. They care about the program, but they don't care. That's not their number one objective. Their number one objective is, what are you doing now? I don't care. Okay, build the program. Yeah, we want you to build the program. And one day we're going to stand on the mountaintop and we're going to be all happy. But the bottom line is, what are you doing this year? Well, it is really the most important thing. So that's the way it works on that. All right, number 4 is a college football playoff, and I'm going to talk to Dari Nowkah about this. Just not a lot of buzz for the games, and I think it's because, and this is sad for Florida fans to admit, I think it's because everybody just assumes Georgia's going to win it again, and so, or maybe it's more that they assume it's going to be Georgia and Michigan because they've been the 2 best teams all year. I just not felt it. And I know we're a long way away from it and everything. We're not that far. We're 6 hours away from it, but in Atlanta. But anyway, it's just, it'll be interesting. I look, I'm not going to pick against Georgia. Nobody's going to pick against Georgia. Some people will bet against Georgia. I don't think Ohio State's good enough. I don't think they're as good a team. And, I would love for TCU to win, but I think Michigan's just going to wear them down like they always do. But who are you even rooting for? I don't know who to root for. There's nobody to root for. I can't root. I've been negative rooting all weekend. I have nobody to root for. Finally, I did not watch 1 second of this game because all the stuff that was going on in college football last night, which I love. But Dallas beat Tennessee, I saw, which means now that the Jaguars are by themselves in first place in their division. The Jaguars. This is one of the great stories I've ever been around, really. And I'm not around it, but I'm just saying to witness, because nobody saw this coming. Nobody saw it coming, obviously, in terms of when they started the season. But think about what they went through last year. And I'm wondering, how much credit should Urban Meyer get? If I said that to a Jacksonville people, maybe we'll have, after we get through this run, Frank Frangie on to talk about it. But maybe he would say, none, 0.0. And I would say, well, some of those players are players he drafted, right? He's got to get like at least 3% of the credit. Anyway, that is our starting lineup, brought to you as always by Hand Law. We appreciate Chris Hand and Hand Law. We will take a break. We will come back with Dari Nowkah from the SEC Network. Always love talking to him. Great guy and really knows his stuff. We'll talk to him. He is at the site of one of the college football championship games. So that we'll have some great stuff here. Let's do that and come back with him after we take this break on Another Dooley Noted Podcast, presented by the great folks at Titan MRI and the great folks at Meldon Law. They won't back down. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What would give you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Pat Dooley's Story Time is brought to you by East Lake Pediatrics. Nobody knows how to provide pediatric health care for little gators better than Dr. Mike and the other board-certified pediatricians and the pediatric nurse practitioners of East Lake Pediatrics. They have been providing personalized health care to the children of Pinellas, Pasco, and Hillsborough counties since 2004. And with the recent addition of Dr. Chris, who is also board certified in sports medicine, they are now offering care for youth sports injuries as well. To learn more about East Lake Pediatrics, call 727-372-6760. And to get to know them better, listen to Dr. Mike and Dr. Carey on their Peds and Pop podcast on multiple platforms. Gator football is back, and the best way to get exclusive insight is a membership in the Gainesville Quarterback Club. As the oldest Gator booster club in the world, Gainesville Quarterback Club gives you the access to speakers like coaches, Gator greats, and more. Yeah, I even talk over there. It's pretty cool. Share your passion for Gator football with hundreds of other members at weekly in-person meetings or for non-locals via Zoom with an out-of-town membership. Right now, out-of-town memberships are only $150 And all new out-of-town signups get entered to win 2 Champions Club tickets to homecoming. That's pretty cool. Against Missouri, speaker presentations, home game tailgates, and special events throughout the year. Join the Gainesville Quarterback Club today. Email the club at membership@quarterbackclub.org or call me, Pat Dooley, 352-317-3444, and I'll get you in touch with the right people. Gainesville Quarterback Club.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
All right, welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studio. It's a great pleasure to welcome in our guest, Dari Nowkah from the SEC Network, who is he's right in the middle of this thing. Dari, how you doing? You holding up out there?
I'm holding up. I'm just ready for this game to get here. I'm so tired of, we hear the same things, and that the old talking season, as the head ball coach would reference it, the postseason talking season, it's got to be over. We just got to kick this thing off, don't we?
Yeah, we do, and that's the thing. I think I talked about it a little bit in the first segment. The lack of buzz around these games. I think the buzz will be there if it's Georgia, Michigan in the championship game. But it's just I think it's almost like everybody's waiting for the coronation of Georgia for the second year in a row.
Do you really? Yeah, I mean, yeah. I get the feeling that nobody's given Ohio State a shot. I would be a little bit more iffy with Michigan in Los Angeles as a next step. I think if Georgia's dialed in, there's nobody that comes close to them. So. And you would assume they're going to be dialed in, but at the same time, like, Michigan's pretty darn sturdy on the lines of scrimmage, and they can kind of do the same things that Georgia likes to do to some degree. Maybe they don't, throw the ball quite as well, but it feels like it's going to be a second Georgia coronation. But I don't know. There's a lot of talent on this Ohio State team too, that they may not necessarily match up well in a lot of areas, but I'll tell you what, like, Harrison and Ibuka can go get it now,
Yeah, no, they're good players. By the way, I was told not to let you into town with any of your Oklahoma jerseys on or uniform, any gear on, because Oklahoma owns Florida right now. They beat them in every sport there is. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Well, I mean, I just watched OU finish 6-7 this season yesterday, so I don't want to brag too much on them. I mean, I almost had Florida State. I thought played pretty well against FSU, but it's hard to brag on them right now. They're 6-7, but hey, they're recruiting well, and people love Brent Venables. I think people love Venables. I love Venables. I think people enjoy playing for him, and he's done a really good job of keeping this thing together. And so you know what though, I've been to Gainesville many times, and I don't believe I've ever worn a single OU thing. So. The good thing is enough people there know where I went to school and who my affinity is for. That's all I need. I don't need people to see me wearing the crimson and cream.
Has anybody from Oklahoma, AD or assistant AD or anybody asked you, said, hey, we're just curious, what's the SEC like, or do they know what they're getting into?
Well, administratively, I think they know. I know Joe Castiglione really well, and we've talked a lot of times, but that question's never come up. It's really more friends, family, OU fans. Hey, what are we getting ourselves into? It seems great. Is it going to be? Pat, my thing is always, I've told countless people, like, just be okay. You're going to realize you're going to have more 8-4s than 11-1s. Like that. That's just kind of what it is. But at the same time, going to a 12-team playoff, and that 10-2 season, that 9-3 might just get you in this league, and it's worth it. It's worth the grind to be playing as many nationally relevant games as you will be playing. I'm not going to miss the OU Baylors, and I'm not going to miss the OU Techs, and I'm not going to miss the OU Kansases. I will happily replace those, and I think they will. I think the fans will too, with even on a bad year, if you end up with like an Auburn and a Mississippi State and you're still going to end up probably with like an LSU in that mix. Like whatever it is, it's going to be better. And I think that change is one that's welcomed by most. Of course, you're going to have the people that are like, oh, I love making the playoff almost every year. Yeah, but do you love getting your tail kicked in the semifinal because you can't compete on the lines of scrimmage? Because that's what happens. And frankly, I'd rather get to a playoff and have a chance to succeed in it by going up against these teams week in and week out and recruiting against them and really getting ourselves bigger and stronger on the lines of scrimmage. And that's kind of the message. But nobody's asked, nobody in administration or coaching or anything has said, hey, what are we getting into? It's the fans mostly.
Oh, let me ask you this. What do you think is going to happen as far as week 0? I hate this expression week 0 because teams are playing games. The records count. It's not an exhibition game. So
right.
I always call it week 1 and I get behind everybody else. But the point is, I think the season's going to move up a week once they get into this 12-team playoff.
I have not even thought about it. But it probably should, right? I mean, because we're going to be looking at, as it is, at games, before Christmas, at games going into the latter part of January, week 3 of January. So as much of that can be, won't be avoided, but you don't want to go beyond that for sure. So no, it would make sense. Fall camp, just move it up a week. Like everything is so long. Everybody's in school at that point, or the vast majority of people are in school at that point. I'm with you. I feel like it's probably going to happen if we're going to stretch the season out as long as we are, because I don't believe we're going back to an 11-game regular season, right?
Yeah. When do have you gotten any feel on when they're finally going to come out with this new scheduling now that I think they pretty much know that Texas, Oklahoma are going to come in a year early, right? In 2024.
Yeah, I don't know when they're going to make that official. I've got to think it's going to be relatively soon now that we got the year, or we think we've got the year they're coming locked in. It's not locked in, but it's pretty close. I don't know. I mean, I'm really secure in saying it's going to be a 9-game schedule and 3 annual rivalries and 6 that move around, and a 1 through 16 conference with the top 2 playing for the conference title. I mean, I think that's certainly where we are. I just don't know when they make that announcement.
By the way, I wanted to commend you for what the SEC Network is doing with Patrick Young. To see him out there, I know it probably brings tears to your eyes every time you see him, but he's doing so great on TV.
If he ever saw me get teary-eyed when seeing him, he would have some words to say for me, because like that guy, all we've done for him is kind of just arrange a set a little bit differently. Like that, That's nothing. That's easy. People do that all the time. I mean, there's nothing to that. At the risk of sounding cliched, I would say what Patrick Young has done for us is kind of the thing. I mean, I remember, I talked to him over the course of the summer and kind of checked in and got updates, and, I couldn't get him to quit asking me about my family. And I'm like, man, I want to talk about you. You're the one that's gone through this not tragedy, but damn near one. And man, his positivity, his outlook, his wife, good gosh, he married a great woman, Whitney.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the first time this season, it was like November 7th or 8th or something, the first day of the season where we had him and Pat Bradley come to the studio. I saw Patrick, kind of coming down the sidewalk. I was looking out the newsroom windows, and I see him coming down the sidewalk in his wheelchair, and his wife, Whitney, was with him, and comes through the door, and he's kind of wheeling himself into the newsroom. And I'm like, I got to give this guy a hug. Like, I don't remember the last time I wanted to give somebody a hug as bad as, outside of family, as bad as I wanted to hug Patrick. And
sure.
Man, I did. And I'm just like, I'm so proud of you, and what an inspiration you are. And, I don't feel sorry for Patrick Young, because Patrick Young would be pissed as hell if he knew somebody felt sorry. Like he's using this, and he's inspiring everybody around him, and he's doing more for us than we could ever do for him. I can tell you that.
Well, let me ask you, obviously the 2 games that are going to be played this weekend, and you're on the scene for one of them. Do you see a path for Ohio State to beat Georgia?
I think it's got to. You're not going to. If it happens, we're going to look back and we're going to say Georgia really hurt themselves in key areas. I think the first quarter is just massive. I think if Ohio State doesn't jump up 7, 10, 14 nothing, 14-3, get a stop early on Georgia and punch them in the mouth with another touchdown of their own. Like if Ohio State does not look comfortable and have themselves a little cushion early, I don't think they have a chance. Because as the game goes on, Georgia is going to get better. And I would imagine Ohio State would, but I don't know. They didn't against Michigan. They got far worse and they made critical mistakes. And so I'm having a hard time seeing that path. They're really talented, but I don't know that they're going to be able to necessarily keep Georgia from making C.J. Stroud uncomfortable. And if Georgia can do that with 4 and not having to blitz, then you've got numbers in the back end against their 2 great receivers. Like I think Marvin Harrison's going to go up and he's going to make 2 or 3 contested catches that might be 40 yards a pop, and those are big plays and keep drives alive and all that because he's just that good. I don't care how well he's covered. He's going to do that. But I don't see enough ways Ohio State can hurt Georgia for 60 minutes of football. So I'm having a hard time finding that path.
Yeah, I hate to tell Gator fans this, but Kirby Smart and Will Muschamp, that is an unbelievable combination defensively. Those 2 minds. I mean, you can say what you want about Muschamp, and I could still consider him a friend.
I love it.
He's a great guy, but he was not a head coach at the University of Florida. That didn't work out. But he is brilliant defensively, and he's doing exactly what he loves to do. What about the other game? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Say that I think that his hire before last season and him being on that staff is one of the more underappreciated elements to Georgia on a national level. I couldn't agree with you more. Like having Muschamp in his defensive mind in association with Kirby's is almost unfair. And like props to Kirby for bringing him in, obviously he's a Georgia guy and we know that and Will loves that and all, but like that, not a lot coaches a lot of times wouldn't have done that with a former head coach that has the defensive history that Will does. And I'm with you. It's highly underappreciated. I think that Will's on that staff and the job that he does and what he gives those guys.
Yeah. And I think the fact that they were, both players together and had a lot to do with it, knew each other. The other game with TCU and Michigan, I want TCU to win because I always like the underdog, always root for the underdog. But again, it's kind of hard to find that path because you feel like Michigan's just going to beat them up.
Yeah, like I think TCU's, again, it's line of scrimmage stuff. I mean, like we saw what Michigan did to Ohio State and the Joe Moore Award winners again for the best offensive line, although Georgia certainly had a case, I think, there. But they're really good up front. And Donovan Edwards is really an explosive back. And JJ's difficult contained for a defense. Like TCU is good on the lines of scrimmage. They just don't have the depth. And I think eventually that's one of those where maybe Duggan makes a play or two, and it's interesting getting into the third quarter, maybe even midway or late into the third quarter. But I just think over time, I think what Georgia will do to Ohio State and kind of wear them down on the lines of scrimmage, I think that's what Michigan ultimately would do and will do to TCU, and then eventually break off maybe a big play or two in the run game because they've gassed the Frogs. They completely gassed them, and I can kind of see that the Michigan – I do like Michigan. I certainly like Michigan, and I like Georgia. And I hate taking chalk, but like at this point, given our history that we can't get a close semifinal with the exception of Georgia and Oklahoma a few years back, like I just want to see good games, to be honest with you.
It's funny because I talk about this all the time when I make picks. The problem is I know too much. I watch too many games, and I have this perception of things, but the reality is every game is its own game. Well, which is one of my commandments.
I heard your picks record at the Gainesville quarterback. I don't know if you know that. No, I'm just joking. And I'm the same way. So we just overthink, I think, Yeah,
exactly. Dari Nowkah is appearing, of course, on the Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line, and it's time now for us to play the game Yes, No Way, or Maybe, where he'll answer a question, 3 questions that we have for him. If you go into Big Mills Cheesesteak, you can get a free order of fries simply by saying you listen to the Another Dooley Noted podcast. All right, yes, no, way, or maybe, Dari. C.J. Stroud is the most important player in the game tomorrow night?
No way.
Okay.
I think we know what CJ Stroud's going to give them, and I think that more importantly is Ohio State on the defensive front, and can they get pressure on Georgia, stop the run? So no, I'm not going to say he's the most important player. I think we kind of know we're going to get really good performance from him, and they got bigger issues.
All right, we'll see. Number 2 on yes, nowhere, maybe the 12-team playoff will be gone by 2030.
No way. It's going to get its run. But
you think it'll go? You think I'm thinking it may be so popular it'll go up. Yeah.
2040, maybe I would have said, not 30. I think we're going to ride with this for a while. So I would say no.
They are slow. They're slow to act.
Yeah, no way. No, we're going to have this in 2030.
And finally, on yes, nowhere, maybe number 3, it's colder in Kalispell, Montana, than it is in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Like on the whole, or like right now? Are you looking at live temperatures?
On the whole, right now.
I'll go maybe. Maybe. The thing in Lincoln is that wind. Whew, like that wind is a killer. And in Kalispell, you're surrounded by mountains, so you don't really have the wind. You get more snow in Kalispell, but I think you get days in Lincoln that are far more miserable temperature-wise than Kalispell.
What was that like working at Kalispell? Because just for those of you who don't know, he worked there at stations there at the start of his career.
I loved it, Pat. It was a culture shock. I'd never lived in a state other than Oklahoma. It took me 30 hours to get up there. We're just short, just about 45 minutes south of the Canadian border in the northwest corner. I had Glacier National Park right near me. I lived in a town called Whitefish, which is a big resort town. I became a skier. I became more of an avid golfer, which I'm not anymore because we had beautiful courses up there for 6 months. Amazing people. The wildlife was incredible. The scenery, just every day you wake up. Winters were a little gloomy for sure. I'm not going to lie, but I wouldn't give those 2 years back. I loved it up there. I took my son up there in July. He'd never been there. I hadn't even been there since I moved in 2000, and we spent 6 days up in Kalispell and then a couple days up in Calgary. And I'd forgotten I realized I had taken the beauty for granted when I lived there. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, everybody. I've never been to Montana. It's one of the few states I've never been to. But it's supposedly, everybody tells me it's unbelievable. By the way, before you go, Dari, and we appreciate you taking the time out. Media Day today was for you for the college football playoff. But I wanted you to give us an update on Hayden's Hope and where that is at.
Oh, yeah. So Hayden's Hope, we're doing well. And I'll be honest with you, Pat, like we haven't necessarily been as active in fundraising for it. And those that don't know, Hayden's Hope was named after a son we lost at 39 days of age back in 2011. He needed a heart transplant caused by a virus in his opening days of life. Didn't get it and passed away. But we started Hayden's Hope in conjunction with the Children's Organ Transplant Association. Every dollar donated to HaydensHope.org goes to families of kids who are awaiting a life-saving organ transplant, and those costs are astronomical. Keep in mind, almost all the time, families are traveling a ways to get to a transplant hospital. And think about it; they're not living at home anymore. They've somehow they can't necessarily work all the time. Bills start piling up. Finances become what overwhelms them every bit as much as the health of their child. And we don't want that. Like, focus on what you need to focus on and let us help take care of some of that other stuff. And that's what we do. We've raised well over $300,000. We've helped 65 families coast to coast. So it's been a good thing to come out of a terrible thing. And it's HaydensHope.org if you want to donate. It's pretty easy to do so.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I've donated to that site.
Yes, and I thank you for that. Yeah, thank you very much.
Hey, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's always great talking to you. it was even fun just you and me texting back and forth, and it was great. When you came to the quarterback club, you were awesome there too, and told some funny jokes. You were funny too.
The underappreciated sense of humor, right? That's what Nobody thinks I'm funny, but that's good. I like to surprise.
Well, you have to be the straight man for Doring and all those other guys.
Exactly right. Exactly right, man. It's always good talking to you. Hit me up anytime. Text me, call me. I'm around, man. I like talking to you, Pat.
All right, Dari. Thanks a lot, buddy. We'll see you.
You got it. Bye.
All right. That is Dari Nowkah coming to you live from Atlanta, where he is at he was at Media Day for the SEC, not the SEC, but the College Football Championship. My hair's sticking up. We have to take a break. I don't know. I think I've told this could be a Pat Dooley story time, but I could do that later. But or the first time I met Dari Nowkah, he was doing a baseball game, and it was one of those games where they waited too long to play the game, so they started the game at like 5:00, and you know the games will rain's coming. It's pouring, and I find out in the middle of it, my golf tournament is going to have to be postponed because Meadowbrook is underwater. The one year we went to Meadowbrook, and all of a sudden, I'm just losing my mind as we hanging around there, and I just started walking back and forth in the press box yelling, "Effing ESPN! I hate ESPN! It's their fault!" Blah blah blah. And Dari happened to just walk around the corner, and I didn't know him, and he was the ESPN guy doing that game, and I could just see this fear in his eyes, like I was going to kill him. And I was like, I was like, me Hulk, go crazy, temperature rising. But we've become really good friends since then. He got over it. And I did too. We'll be right back. We got a lot of things to do, including Hesser Kipke's 3 things. And we'll have a winner, the Leonardo's of Millhopper Quick Picks, when we come back on Another Dooley Noted Podcast, presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from Another Dooley Noted Podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What gave you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life. And the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Albert, Alberta, I understand you were witnesses to a crash. Can you tell us about the accident? When you're in a crash, it's important to get witness statements immediately after the accident. Whether you're in a car, truck, motorcycle, scooter, or even a golf cart accident, at Meldon Law, we won't back down.
Pat Dooley's Storytime is brought to you by East Lake Pediatrics. Nobody knows how to provide pediatric health care for little gators better than Dr. Mike and the other board-certified pediatricians and the pediatric nurse practitioners of East Lake Pediatrics. They have been providing personalized health care to the children of Pinellas, Pasco, and Hillsborough counties since 2004. And with the recent addition of Dr. Chris, who is also board certified in sports medicine, they are now offering care for youth sports injuries as well. To learn more about Eastlake Pediatrics, call 727-372-6760. And to get to know them better, listen to Dr. Mike and Dr. Carey on their Peds and Pop podcast on multiple platforms. Gator football is back, and the best way to get exclusive insight is a membership in the Gainesville Quarterback Club. As the oldest Gator booster club in the world, Gainesville Quarterback Club gives you the access to speakers like coaches, Gator greats, and more. Yeah, I even talk over there. It's pretty cool. Share your passion for Gator football with hundreds of other members at weekly in-person meetings or for non-locals via Zoom with an out-of-town membership. Right now, out-of-town memberships are only $150, and all new out-of-town signups get entered to win 2 Champions Club tickets to homecoming. That's pretty cool. Against Missouri, speaker presentations, home game tailgates, and special events throughout the year. Join the Gainesville Quarterback Club today. Email the club at membership@quarterbackclub.org or call me, Pat Dooley, 352-317-3444, and I'll get you in touch with the right people. Gainesville Quarterback Club.
Is your bank dropping the ball, not playing with heart or skill? Then you need to check out the scouting report on Campus USA Credit Union. That's a 5-star recruit if I've ever seen one. Campus has it all, like great rates and products, friendly service, and smart game plans for you and your money. So why not put some star power in your financial life? Visit campuscu.com or any campus service center today.
Honey, can I recruit you to take the garbage out?
All right, welcome back to another Dooley Noted Podcast, presented to you by Titan MRI, as they always do, from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. We appreciate all of our great sponsors. Let us get to, and we thank Dari Nowkah for being on. Let us get to our Adams Rubco to Go Gator of the Week. And the Gator of the Week, I did with this. I thought about it a lot, but I gave it to Katie Ledecky. Now, Katie Ledecky, of course, is a world-class, one of the great swimmers of all time, and is a volunteer coach at Florida. Do I consider her a Gator? I think she wears a Gator swimming cap when she swims. It's kind of hard to say, but when she's winning all these championships, she's not winning any championships for the University of Florida, but she is winning championships with being a Gator. She's part of the Gator Nation, so she's a Gator of the weekend, or of the week, because actually it's a week and a weekend, so it would be 10 days. Gators of the last 10 weeks. She was named the AP Female Athlete of the Year. Won all these races, and of course, she's a volunteer coach at Florida. She and Michael Phelps are the only ones that have won this twice, this award twice, and she's the only one female to have won it twice. So I want to give her a lot of credit. I guess you could say she's a Gator, right? She's a Gator. All right, let's get to three things. Three Things is always brought to you by Hesser Kipke, a law firm based in Hale Plantation, specializing in employment, workers' comp, and family law. Visit their website at www.hklawfl.com or call Ken and Jennifer at 352-339-9920. Let us get to the Hesser Kipke Three Things. Number one. All right, I watched a lot of NFL during this break, because I was watching everything. Okay. So I watched like full NFL games. They call holding a lot in that league, don't they? I mean, if you get a guy by the, you hook him a little bit, like with your toenail or whatever, they call it a lot. And they don't call pass interference anywhere near as much as they do in college. It's almost like they're two different games. And I imagine for all these guys that are going over from college to the pros and think, they've got it all, hopefully they go into it with the right attitude. And I know that some of the stuff that Billy Napier's selling is to have them ready for everything when they come out. And I agree with that 100%. But hopefully they've got that kind of they know what's going on. They know what is expected of them. They know what they're supposed to do. They know how to, I remember there was the story about Kwame Brown, of course, who never went to Florida, signed with Florida. And he went to a restaurant in New York with all these bigwigs and brought his own French dressing because they didn't think they had French dressing. I think it was French dressing, maybe it was ketchup. He made one or the other, but he didn't think they'd have it, so he brought it with him. I mean, just to get guys to be able to write checks and stuff like that. That's a big part of it. But anyway, I think I got off on a tangent there. Number 2, I do want to talk about the death of Pele, 82 years old. I had contact with Pele. I interviewed him. I covered the NASL in 77, 78. I covered the T-Men also. I covered the Fort Lauderdale Strikers, and they were a big they were good in that league. But I covered some New York Cosmos games. I covered them in East Rutherford. It was unbelievable how he changed the way people looked at soccer. And I know that soccer, people that don't like soccer want to poo-poo it, but soccer is enormous in this country. It's not anywhere near the level of some of the other things, and it never will be. But it's obviously the world's most famous sport. But he made it a popular. I mean, the level. It's hard to imagine if you're listening to this. I got on one hand way down here, on another hand way up here. That he just boomed it. He made it important. I was able to interview him. It was a big part of my life for a while there when I was covering the Strikers. A part of my early, bit and part of the bit, my first job and at the Fort Lauderdale paper. And I think about that a lot. I think about that year a lot. And I thought about when Pele died, it felt like a little part of your soul. I think it's what happens as you go through life. A little part of your soul kind of gets whittled away every time somebody dies. And that happens a lot more now, it seems like. Number 3 on Hesser and Kipke's 3 things. I wrote this down. Lane is a pain. I know what I'm talking about. Sometimes I write things down and I have to remember what I was talking about. But Lane is a pain. After the game last night, which was a great game, he said that Dimitri Moore from Texas Tech spit on him or spit on a player and called him a word that was racially not proper. And, of course, the player denied it. The other coach denied it. Lane Kiffin never heard it. If you really believe that happened, Lane, you know what you do? You go through the other coach. You go through channels. I mean, I'm sorry, bringing that up in a press conference, you've slandered that kid for life. That just because it didn't happen, or if it did happen, he's slandered for life. That's why I would never want Lane Kiffin to be my coach. I know there's people that think, Lane Kiffin, well, can you imagine with Florida talent? I don't know. I haven't seen Florida talent in a long time. But the bottom line is, what did he go 1 for 6? I think when I turned it off on 4th downs. Yeah, not my kind of guy. That is our Hesser and Kipke 3 Kipke. Hesser and Kipke. I said Hesser and Kipke 3 things for today. We appreciate Ken and Jennifer. We have to get to our Leonardo's of Millhopper quick pick because we have to pull a winner. I'm going to ask Tammy, our producer, to give me a number between 10 and 31. Any of those numbers between 10 and 31. And there weren't a lot of qualifiers. And a lot of people got in. A lot of you guys missed a lot. This is a kind of a elimination pool as to who won. So we'll get to that. Between 10 and 31, Tammy. The number is 23. And that is Todd Kishauer. I think Todd has won before. Maybe not. I don't think he has. Well, I don't think no, I'm not letting somebody repeat 2 weeks in a row. Yeah. But he may not have. I think it's been a while, but Todd, and I know Todd loves the show and emails all the time. Todd, if you get in touch with me, we'll figure out whether if you live in town, I'll get it to you. If you don't, I'll mail it to you. And I'll let the other people, I'm sorry, all you guys that didn't win, I'm sorry. Yeah, blame Tammy. Yeah. There'll be people with signs that are like, Tammy sucks. Why Tammy? It like your picture with like a line through it.
You don't know what I look like, though.
They'll find your picture. Believe me. There's probably somebody in here from the Inquirer now taking your shot. All right, so let us go ahead and give you a head start for the next contest. Again, this contest was kind of a Christmas present, doing a little early. We'll start with the next contest. Just give me the teams that will be in the national championship game. There's 4 teams. You got 2. You got to give me both. They got to get them both right. I think most of you will say Georgia and Michigan. I think that's why there's not a lot of buzz for this. But that'll be our opportunity to get back in the Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. But Todd Kissauer is a winner of this one. We need to get to this, that, and the other. I think this, that, and the other is coming up. All right, this, that, and the other. All right, number 1. This. I'm sorry. This. Everybody talks about there's so many bowls, and of course, I get all excited. Okay, I get excited. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. Bowl games to start. Oh, and they start like right after the season, and then then Florida gets humiliated at home. Or not at home, in Las Vegas. They get humiliated, and you're kind of like down on bowl season. And then you realize other games that are coming up for the next few weeks are terrible. And you're like, hey, bowl season, there are too many bowl games. I've never said that before, and then you get these great games that we've seen over the last few weeks. I have been back in love with college football, and you never know who's going to be playing quarterback because who opted out, who opted in, who's transferring in, whatever. You never know, but it's okay. I'm surviving it so far. My wife is on the verge. She's right on the verge of dumping college football but the games. The other is that when the games were at the end of the season there and the end of the early bowl season before the playoffs have been so great. There have been so many games that have been incredible, just awesome games. I've loved it every time. So I appreciate that, and college football has lived up to it. No matter how they tried to run me off, they are trying to run me off. Pat Dooley, quit being a college football nut. Quit being a nut. Quit being one of these guys who has 3 TVs. He gets mad if he goes to a place and they go, oh, you get the food channel on in this restaurant? Why is that? Why would you have that on? A Valero Bowl is on. That's me. I didn't make him do it at one place I went the other day, Blue Highway. I went to Blue Highway. We went, Karen, I don't want to say made us, but we both went down there to below Payne's Prairie, and that walk out, and you walk out to the thing and everything, and it was very pretty, very lovely. But we went to Blue Highway, and they had the food channel, and I'm like, I'm not gonna ask them to put that on. I don't care. All right, so that is this, that, and the other. As always, it is sponsored by Ironwood, and I want to say one thing about Ironwood. I went out there Thursday, and I thought I was going to be able to cruise around the course. It was wall-to-wall people, and it was apparently the day before. As soon as the weather turned, and I talk about this all the time. I call it our 3-day winter, and we have a 3-day winter every year. This was a 5-day winter. It was, I would say, 5-day winter. And good news for you, Tammy. It won't get below freezing the rest of the year. Why? You want snow? Well, it can't snow. It never snows. It snowed twice here, ever. But it's going to be a lot warmer, and pretty soon the sun is not going to set before I get out of the radio show. All right, it is time for Pat Dooley's story time, which I think some of you feel like has been pretty much this whole show. All All right, so I was thinking about bowl games and how, obviously I'm not going to bowl games anymore. I was thinking about the gifts they used to give you, and you never knew what you were going to get. And that was like one of the big exciting parts of showing up at the bowl game. You'd walk in that place and you'd get all your credentials. Here's this and here's this. Here's a shuttle. Here's the schedule of parties, depending on how big the bowl was. If you're a BCS bowl, it was unbelievable. You never had to pay for a meal. I didn't turn any in, but, you never had to pay for a meal. So, you have this list of all these things that they're going to do for you and parties they're going to take you to, and then they give you something. And the one thing I'll always remember for some reason was, well, two things, really. One was the Sugar Bowl blanket from '96 that my wife had forever, because that is her favorite game of all time. My wife, when she was giving birth to Kelsey, made me bring the tape of the 96 or 97 Sugar Bowl, Florida FSU. She wanted that played. So on that tape, there are a lot of Burger King commercials because they were a big sponsor. So when we're taking the baby home, she goes, "Stop at Burger King now." So she had to have Burger King. But, yeah, so, the one thing I remember, though, is for some reason, the newspapers were burning money for a while. They were just sending people everywhere. And they sent me to the 1984 Sugar Bowl. I think it was LSU, Nebraska. I don't even remember who won. I think it was Nebraska. Well, it might have been LSU. I don't know. But they gave me this beautiful mug. It was a huge mug. And I used that for, I want to say 15 years. I don't remember. I think it got lost somewhere. But it was just, and there are all these great gifts you get. I miss of those days when people giving me things. Anyway, that's Pat Dooley story time. It's kind of got off on tangents there, but we like to do that. All right, we'll be back with another show on Monday. On Monday, Jenny Rowland's going to join us. Can't wait to talk to her about Trinity Thomas and all. They are loaded for Bear for this year. This could be the year they win that national championship for her. Of course, Florida won 3 in a row under Rhonda Fame, but Jenny has done an unbelievable job at Florida. We'll have her on, and we'll be back then. Until next time, don't forget, by the way, Monday we have Jenny Rowland. On Friday, we'll have Coach Spurrier. On Monday, we'll have Coach Spurrier, and then Feinbaum on the following Friday. So that's the schedule. All right, guys, we'll be back Monday. Until then, I am Pat Dooley. I'm deep. I'm way back, and I am out of here.